neighbor has volunteered to take on the neighborhood's new business card because I'm like not a graphic designer. And he came up with a slogan to put on the card, and it was pretty nice too. And I was like, oh, I forgot we were kind of told by a class that we should come up with a motto. And so I went back into that report and found the slide and everything where the motto was. And I was like, I remember you
Nice.
picking that up. So I just wanted to say, hey, I used your old motto and sent it to somebody.
I'm glad that report could be used for something.
I mean, yeah, it can be used for a lot of things. It can be used to get passing grade.
It's the best way to use it.
Exactly. It can be used to get yourself an introduction into an internship that turns into a job.
Maybe, if I'm lucky.
There's Nate.
Hey, Nate.
I woke Nate up this morning with an email. Good morning, Nate.
Good morning.
Good morning, Heather.
Morning, everyone.
Look at that hat.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Everybody keeps saying that. We got a box full at the office.
Maybe I should come to the office.
A box full is an exaggeration. There's like 3 left.
Oh, you got to hide one for me.
We only got 6.
Who else got one?
Or there's 4 left then.
Still got to hide one for me. I love hats. I don't know if anyone knows that. I really like hats. I also like jackets. I don't know if that's it. I'm like a clothing accessory man. That's what I like. I mean, I like the main stuff too, like shirts and pants, but I really like the accessories, you know?
I'm glad you like shirts and pants, Brad.
Jackets, shoes. I have a ton of shoes, like for real. Regaling the public at this point. There's Annette. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning.
Melanie said she might not make the meeting.
Okay.
John said he might not make the meeting. Rebecca's not going to make it. I don't know if the mayor is able to make it today.
We're not gonna have quorum.
Uh-oh.
If John, Rebecca, Mayor, and Melanie do not come, we won't. Oh, there's Gene. We will have
Okay,
one.
yeah.
Right, there's 9 members with 5's quorum, right? Good morning, Gene.
Good morning.
Morning, Jean. Morning, Annette.
I'm gonna just give it one
Good
more.
morning.
Since we already know a bunch or a few of us aren't gonna come. We'll start here in just 1 minute.
Nate and Zach, I'm going to have you tell me what those things are in the bag that we got yesterday. I'm like, is this a screen cleaner? Is this for your eyeglasses?
Oh, yeah.
That is the one thing, the jar opener I got because but the thing from First Merchants, I don't know if that's a coaster or I don't know what that is. Anyway,
I think it can be whatever you want it to be. It's up to you.
yeah, I think I'm gonna just pretend that I know and just use it for something.
Shimmy. Oh, Melanie's able to join.
let her get fully. Good morning, Melanie. And with that, I think we'll just go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the May Board of Directors meeting for the Muncie Land Bank. I know that the meeting packet was sent out late last night, but I hope everyone's had a chance to review the consent agenda. And I would entertain a motion to pass as presented. Accept as presented. Pass.
I'd so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I heard 2 seconds. Any comments, questions, or concerns about the consent agenda?
Just one thing. Gene had asked a couple months ago if I would include the kind of the P&L, especially in light of what was budgeted and what's been expended so far. And so I included something called Budget Tracker,
Saw that.
which is useful for our other, but I was having trouble integrating that into QuickBooks, Gene. So I just made a Excel sheet.
QuickBooks isn't very friendly to that.
No,
I mean, from now on, if you'd like, we could just include this budget tracker as part of an ongoing agenda piece. I'm fine with that. I think it's a nice tool. It's a good idea, Gene, and thanks for putting this together, staff.
Appreciate it.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. We'll do a roll call vote. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Dustin?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Annette?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Melanie?
Aye.
And I makes it unanimous. Consent agenda is adopted as presented. Moving on from there, we have our looks like 4 voting items in our agenda. Starting with the first one at 2116 North New York. I'm going to let staff take over from here. This one has a bit of nuance to it, and I believe Rebecca had met staff and the buyer on site to review the proposal. She's not here this morning, but I believe that she gave a favorable recommendation to this proposal. Nate, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so this was basically the only bid that we got on this house at the A&D committee that we had, and we were interested in it, but we wanted to meet with the couple again, talk through a little bit numbers, and Rebecca wanted to just make sure that they understood the extent of the rehab, what it would take. And then I wanted to talk to them about money because they offered, this is a property that we paid, Zach knows the exact amount, I think around maybe $24,000 for. We've got about $4,000 or $5,000 of cleanup in it. It's in a neighborhood that we don't normally work on. It's just across north of Bethel on New York, north of the basketball stadium. And it's just like one house in an area that's relatively in good shape. And so we kind of acquired it thinking, okay, this is a role for the land bank to acquire a house that's creating the potential for blight. And the neighbors have been real concerned about it. And so anyways, the bid that Ernesto and Nilvia offered was $15,000. So we wanted to talk to them. And so we kind of landed on, again, what we're most concerned about is the house being rehabbed well and it being put to good use. And so we talked about, what would it look like if we could get it up to $30,000 because that's making us whole. But we could maybe accept a lower down payment and then start kind of a payment plan like we've done in the past. So the general idea is that they make a $10,000 payment. They have talked about wanting to get this done by the fall. And then so we talked about that. So the January 1, we'd give them till the end of the year to get that done. And then January 1, they would either, if they sold the house, they would make us whole immediately, or they would start a payment plan if they were actually going to move into it, which I think what they probably would actually do. But yeah, we thought if we can take less up front, that gives them more money to actually work on the property. They've done some work in other places. They are homeowners, but they're interested in moving potentially closer to Ball State where their daughter's studying. So I don't know if there's any other questions, or Brad or Zach, anything that you'd like to add as context.
I think we've done an arrangement like this before. I want to say twice, or is it just once?
I think just once.
Right. But I think, we don't want to I think Nate said this, we don't want to cause a price hike in the beginning that prevents them from finishing the work at the end, right? And if they can get at the property and prove that they can get the work while we still have some control over it, then we can, ensure a little bit more completion that way.
Yeah, this is something that I discussed using project agreements, which like that's something that Intent has recommended we do. We used it for the first time with 2203 South Meeker. It's basically a deed restriction that's much more detailed and attached to the deed. And we're gonna have legal Leslie review that to make sure that it's strong before we would actually execute it with Ernesto and Novia.
And our plan would be to work in some of these, legal costs, closing costs, maybe some of our man hours that we worked on this in the deal. But this is the base price for the house.
And the recommendation from the committee was pending the meeting that Nate and Rebecca had with the seller or the buyer, my bad. And so it came favorable. Jean, you had a question, I believe?
I just wanted to ask, will our paperwork with them require them to sell it? Or, what if they decide to hold it and rent it? I assume Leslie will put some language in there to protect us.
Yes, I think yes, we'll go to Leslie with this, but I think what we'd like to see reflected in agreement is that if they sell it, they make us whole.
Right.
Immediately. If they don't sell it, then it would be a payment plan.
Start paying us. Okay.
Yes.
Which would be towards making us whole again.
Right. I
Yeah.
get that. I just wondered about the details.
So I have a couple of questions. We'll have a lien on the property during the time that they're rehabbing that we'll release when they're done. Is that right?
Yeah, so the project agreement, once the terms are satisfied, I have like Indiana Title or whoever did the closing really draft up the release of that restriction or release of the project agreement, and I go file that with the recorder's office
Okay.
to clear it.
And then did you say they're not able to like get a loan to do this work?
I think that would be part of the plan for the rehab part. But in that way, if we need to flesh some things out further,
Mm-hmm.
well, on the financing side, we can do that.
Okay, I'm just wondering if they, the ability, so that they don't have to make payments to us, that they have a lender, that they got funding to take care of the acquisition and the rehab.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that we're not, I think it's fine if we have to do those kind of deals, but
Mhm.
we don't want to be a bank
Yeah.
and do it that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the board's stance is on that generally, but I will say, like, especially with this house, that has like fire damage upstairs. There seems to be an increasing desire from because like there were two other people who I showed actually three other people I showed this house to who are interested in it. Um, but they're concerned about the risk of what it looks like on the back end if they decide to sell it for home ownership rather than renting it out. And it's it kind of looks like, the land bank has an opportunity here to play a role as taking on that risk to make it more, digestible for the for-profit entity who's taking care of this house. So we've discussed, what could it look like if we do essentially what this is like a profit share where they pay a certain percentage at the beginning, like half, and then at the end they would make us whole, plus maybe a fee or something. So that's not something that we've done before, but it's something that like it seems to be among the people who are interested in doing our properties would probably like to see in the future.
Yeah, and then we are getting into kind of new territory because you'll see down in the agenda, there's another proposal like this. I know that the one that we did, the past one that we put somebody on a payment plan, they did not have the possibility of getting, a loan. This couple might be in a similar situation. You know, so it's something that we might want to like talk about and work through. Like, is that something that we want to be doing? Is like creating these opportunities for people that we're loaning money basically, interest free, and out capital for a while. I don't know. That's a good question, Ed. But that's that. I think this could be similar to the past deal where getting a loan might be challenging for them.
Yeah, if I remember from the A&D committee, it wasn't necessarily their ability to get a loan. I think they had the funds to purchase the property at the price and perform some work, and their budget is extremely tight, but they're using kind of a friend economy, if you will, on doing the work. They're doing it themselves, their cousins, like it's kind of a big network, if you will. So I think, and again, once then Nate and Rebecca met the buyer on site, that's where the recommendation came as favorable. I I would entertain a motion to approve the disposition. Lost my agenda, there it is.
So I would make a motion to approve the sale of 2116 North New York, as recommended by the A&D committee.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, roll call. All in favor, say by saying aye. Dustin,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Annette,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
and I. Makes it unanimous. The next one is for 218 East 6th Street. It's a bit of a similar situation of down payment and payment later. Nate?
Zach?
Yeah, sure. So 218E6, we've talked about this for almost a year now. It was property that was going to be donated. Donation kind of fell through, but we bought it in the tax sale. We're almost 100% that it's not going to be redeemed. And we've been working in this time. It was indicated by Habitat, indicated by Urban Light, who both work in South Central, that this is a really important house. It's a big house. It definitely has a lot of potential. So Neil and Kelly Kring are both really interested in the house. They're a married couple. They want to rehab the house and then use it for home ownership. So they're currently homeowners. their children want to buy their current house from them and live in it, their son. So they would sell that house to them, likely continue living there while they rehab the house to a livable state. And they would use the money, the funds from selling their current home-owned house for 218 East 6 and to fund the rehab. So when we create this agreement, they would pay 10%, which is $1,000. So basically the option 10%, which is what we usually do, and then 9,000 to complete it. We only have 5,000 in this house right now, and we don't expect that to go up. We've gotten approval from, just to be clear, from the current conservator, court appointed conservator, and the guardian of the owner, same person. He's given us approval to do whatever we need, written approval to do whatever we need to make sure that the house doesn't continue to degrade, to secure it, to make sure that no squatters get in there anymore, to keep it in this state it's in, so it stays preserved and is ready to be rehabbed once we take ownership. And we also had an inspection done on the house, which was overall positive on the ability for it to be saved and rehabbed.
So we would sign a pass-through agreement, they put 1,000 down and then pay us the rest once we get through the legal process and we can transfer it to them.
Yeah, and when we sell it again, we do the same thing. Our goal is for every property essentially that has a house on it like this, we're going to continue to do project agreements so that we have a clawback clause if for some reason they don't follow through on what they had intended to do.
So are you guys looking at project budgets? And I know you have a scope probably from the inspection. Are you looking at project budget and do the potential buyers have experience with rehab?
Well, they've discussed their willingness essentially. Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, but they said their current house was gonna sell for around 200. Is that right? And they sent us the remaining principal on their mortgage, which was 30,000. And they're willing to use all of that capital, at least all of that capital, to rehab this house. Is what they've expressed to us. They're not looking for a net positive cash flow from this project. They're just looking to use it as their new home.
And they
Yeah.
have presented a scope with numbers and things like that. That we've met with them a couple times and then worked it through in the A&E committee.
Yeah, I just, being a developer, I know sometimes people look at projects and they think they're easy. They think the work that we do as developers, it looks easier on the outside looking in than actually doing it. And we kind of talked about that before. And so I just think on our part, we need to be vetting that they have a scope of work, they have a reasonable budget. We know that they're gonna, their budget will address, irregardless of whether they have the funds for it, right? The funds what I'm looking at is they have a reasonable budget and a reasonable commitment of whatever the amount is to fix the house. And they have some kind of experience or background that makes you feel comfortable with them taking on that project.
So even though it's not labeled as budget, the notes on the bidder in the folder for today's meeting, it has a renovation proposal that comes out to about $116,000 total for that house. I don't remember what that square footage amount is off the top of my head, but I think that was a fairly decent square foot rehab.
And I think part of that rehab, part of it's a poor addition that's going to need to come down. So the square footage will drop. And in addition, I didn't mention this, there's $1,500 worth of that current our current costs. That is a loan. So we're going to get that money back from the building commissioner because we've put up that capital to prevent further the demolition. They actually did the asbestos removal, and they were going to continue with the demolition, but us paying that 1,500 halted that process. So this couple, once they start doing that rehab and they complete the rehab, that will allow us to get our $1,500 back.
So looking at Beacon, I'm seeing about 1,270 in finished for the primary, and then 736 maybe for that wood addition.
Yeah,
If that helps you, Brad.
yep, that's right. I just used the single size lot of 206. It came out to like just south of $58 a square foot at that. If they're going to tear off 700 square feet, that's just going to, depending on how you add it up, the rehab itself and the rest of the interior will go up per square foot.
I'm just saying in general, I think, and I'm having trouble. That's why I turned my video off. I'm having trouble getting the box documents in front of me right now. I'm just saying in general, like we need to vet projects that way.
Agree.
I would entertain a motion to accept the bid and sell the property under these conditions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
That is Annette and Jean. Heather, are there any further comments, questions, or concerns?
Would it be acceptable to ask them for a little more detailed renovation timeline, or do you feel that that's already been addressed with what we have already?
Well, I'll tell you, they wanted an inspection done. So we did our typical level 1 inspection. We just got that back. They actually created what they have before they were able to get that inspection report back. Because it took me some time to get in contact with the conservator to make sure that we had the proper permissions to get that inspection done. So yes, we could absolutely ask them that and try to get a more detailed timeline. I think part of the contingency is it can vary how long it's going to take us to actually get that deed in our hands. Sometimes it can be as soon as like the end of December. But the tax sale in 2025 when we bought it was in October, so it could be in December. It could be as late as February when we get that tax deed. But we can ask them for a more detailed timeline.
You could work that timeline with a questionable start as a Gantt scheduling, so that you could just be like, after we obtain title, right? Let's just say that's day 1. In day 26, we'll have X, Y, and Z done. In day 47, we'll have X, Y, and Z done, right?
Yeah, and we could also work that into the project agreement as well.
Yeah, I'm fine
with benchmarks like that.
I'm also comfortable with letting staff do that without having to amend the emotion. All right, so any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, I'm going to call a question. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Dustin?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Annette?
Aye.
Melanie?
Aye.
Now it makes it unanimous. Tell the Krings to prepare for Thank you, everyone. The next item, I don't have a right in front, sorry. Is an acquisition. So those two were dispositions. It's going to be a purchase.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry.
Yep. Approval of the purchase of 600 East 8th Street. This is came up quite recently and has presented itself with an opportunity for us to kind of help a person out here.
Yeah, so this one, to a degree, I think technically by our policy, I could acquire this without board approval. I have up to a certain number, like 2 times the assessed value, I think, with signature of exec committee folk. But I wanted to kind of present it and get really just kind of approval to start the negotiation process. There's a lot of things that need to be worked out with the potential seller of the home to us, and then a potential buyer. What would be the terms of that agreement? Yeah, this is a property that it's a legacy home that was lost in the tax sale and then bought by somebody and then rented back to them. And an older lady, and then the grandson has asked for us to help to kind of be an intermediary. They've not had success going directly to the original owner or the new owner. And so we've reached out, and the original owner is open to considering an offer.
And we've worked with the original owner or the owner before.
Yes. And the issue is that the lady that's living there wants to stay there, but the house is really starting to kind of come undone. But the son doesn't want to start making improvements if doesn't own the house. And so, our goals would be to try to get the house for, as low as we can, and then basically have a pass-through agreement with the son. So I feel like this is kind of like us doing some justice work. And we've talked about, when you look at the tax sale, that's one of the classic stories of, an older person losing their home because for whatever reason they didn't pay taxes, and then they end up in a place where they're renting back the house that they've owned for decades. And somebody spoke up there.
I think Gene sneezed because Gesundheit.
Oh. So again, like I'm happy with like negotiating and figuring out all the terms and then coming back to the board when things are concrete. But because we're talking about a fair bit of money, we're talking about something new. I wanted to bring it to the board.
So, we have a couple different tracks of practice, the most lofty or maybe the most idealist is having like large development firms who want property in the area and then tap the land bank to buy, acquire, and sell it to them, homes like intended, right? Then we have other tracks where we try to incentivize smaller developers, even, for lack of a better phrase, mom and pop developers. And that's where we have some of these other deals that we've done, right? And then there's this kind of other aspect of like, we took on the grant, for example, of the Robert Woods Johnson, which was about kind of justice through the tax delinquency sale and who gets affected by that. And this kind of project here can be the kind of work that we do that brings a bit of housing justice to the area, or at least begins it at, one house at a time. I don't know. Nate and I had discussed this. We do have the money for it. It was our decision to bring it here just to get the feels, and I think that having giving Nate some leeway to negotiate and be nimble enough to close might be ideal in this situation. I know normally we go through a more rigorous process, but I think that if I remember, you guys correct me, staff correct me if I'm wrong. This guy wasn't interested in selling until he got his property tax assessment. And then he's like, I'm kind of interested now. And so I think that like there's a bit of timing issues that are happening at the same time.
It's jumped from 20,000 to 42.6 in 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. Mine jumped too. I think everyone's did. So I'm just saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. What is the range that we're talking about? Possible purchase then pass through to the homeowner.
35.
I'm asking for up to 35. I hope that we could. I don't think the house is worth that at all. Yeah.
does that put any strain on our reserves or our other processes?
Well, I mean, it does. I mean, to a degree, it does. Because, our budget, a lot of the money that we're waiting for is tied to the ready stuff, and that's still being worked out. I think we can handle it. And my goal would be on the pass-through agreement, get as much of a down payment as possible. Maybe the full thing. I mean, that's what the son said that he might be able to, but he just said if that was an option, it'd be nice to know that that is an option.
I think
But
I think I'm leaning very much in favor of this. I think this seems like the right thing to do, especially for us. I would ask for something in writing contingent. So and I'm sure Hannah or somebody else can define it a little bit better, but I would want to make sure that the purchase is contingent on the deal going through before we spend the money to purchase it from the current owner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be another one of those PTA project agreements that Zach's been kind of talking about here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I also like to add just like budget wise, because we've kind of been like, I haven't given any updates on like closing with the Intend project and everything with those properties, but those remaining, we still have 25 properties that we're selling. 2 of them had messed up legals, so they're waiting on a survey, which is going to be in 6 weeks. But all those title commitments are ready to go. First American Title is who we're closing with Intend, but that should happen relatively soon once those surveys are completed, because that's all prepared and ready to go. And then in addition, we just discussed this with Intend yesterday as well. We've worked out, like with the Ready project, we talked about 75 grand in maintenance. So that's going to be retroactive to the beginning of 24. And we've put nearly 75 grand in maintenance costs already into this project. So we're essentially just going to get that money back, which is great. So those dollars, nearly $200,000 are going to be unrestricted funds for us to use for this type of work.
And that
also, I mean, Nate's already made this clear, but this is like, I think, huge community benefit doing this type of work. It's really solidifying the land bank stance as, a community actor, a public benefit actor.
And that First American Title, that's the land bank experience title company that we chose to start using, I want to say a year ago. Is that right? They had some land bank experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're not specifically tied to them, but it's just
Right.
We've had some folks who didn't want to close with Indiana Title.
Right.
And then Intend also recommended them because they had experience with project agreements.
Yeah.
With tax sale properties, things like that.
With our processes and
also the FinCEN law. There was a new law that was requiring property being bought and sold, being reported to the federal government, and it was going to be a cost increase, especially for Indiana Title. I think First American has a little bit more agility to be able to manage that, so they keep costs down.
You just said that, and I just thought about it. I wanted to bring it to kind of make a marker out of it. Going back though, 35,000 is the top. 600 East 8th. Are there any questions, comments, concerns further? Do I have is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So that was Annette and Dustin. Assuming there's no other further comments, questions, roll call vote. Dustin?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Annette?
Aye.
Melanie? And aye. So motion passes. Thank you. We have one more item. It's the acceptance of a proposal for our strategic planning process. As everyone knows, we started this process a couple months ago with wordsmithing a RFP, and then we sent it out. We got, I don't know, was it 8 or 10? We got 8 or 10. 8. I'm gonna let Heather. She's kind of like she's gonna charge this out. So why don't you just take it from here?
Sure. We'll keep it brief. Okay, so we got 8 proposals, some for, I think it was 2 just for phase 1, 2 just for phase 2, and then we got 4 that were for phase 1 and phase 2. The committee met, reviewed the proposals, and we would like to propose consideration, or I guess approval of moving forward with phase 1 with Cuyahoga County. So phase 1 is just strategic planning. So we would move forward with the phase 1 with Cuyahoga County with the aim of contracting them for phase 2 once we've secured funding for that portion. So that's the recommendation from the committee, is to hire Cuyahoga County Land Bank for phase 1 now. And then with the intention of moving forward with phase 2 once we've secured that funding. Do you have
And
any questions?
oh, go ahead. Sorry. When we received these proposals, of course, they were broken up, and some of them were like Cuyahoga's, who is a land bank in the Cleveland County there in Ohio, had it broken out so we could do both phases, we could do one phase, however they wanted to do it. It was obvious they wanted to work with us. Their proposal and their price reflected that, I think. And we got a favorable recommendation out of the committee for Cuyahoga County.
In box, all the proposals are there. There's also a summary doc if you just want to look at quickly who proposed what phase and for how much, and a little bit about each proposal.
And,
So ideally, what we would do today is to approve the motion to move forward with phase 1 with Cuyahoga County, and also phase 2 once we've secured that funding. If somebody wanted to make that motion.
I would make a motion that we proceed with phase 1 and then work towards phase 2 once we secure funding.
Thank you.
is there a second?
Second.
That's Dustin and Nat. During these further comments, questions, concerns, I'm just going to note that Cuyahoga County through Western Reserve was our first TA back in 2018. They gave us, I don't know, almost all of our foundational type documents that programmatically kind of took us off. We got that through a grant at about the same price that they're going to come back and do the full, if we're going to do both phases, about the same price. So that was, I think, a great relationship we had back then. I'm glad to see them come back with this RFP. The other thing I just want to mention is when we first did that RFP, we also received a proposal from CZB, who did the Together DM plan and then helped us do our last strategic plan. So I don't know, I just feel like there's a bit of a universe of people that we're familiar with and doing these projects and moving us forward. We just keep getting kind of elevated through this planning process, I feel.
And
Oh,
we
go
get our software, our PPS, like property management software, which is like the foundation for all of the systems that I use now, through PPS. So I think they have a basic understanding of, some of our processes, because they've helped customize that software for our needs.
Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns? All right. I'm going to call the question. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Roll call, Dustin,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Annette,
Aye.
Melanie,
Aye.
and I makes it unanimous. We will move forward with the first phase of this with Cuyahoga. Heather, I want to thank you for all the work you put to getting this RFP and our strategic planning process going. And I want to thank the committee for taking time to go through all the proposals, scoring them, and discussing them vigorously.
Thank you, Heather.
With that, I'm going to let staff take over the rest of the agenda as it is mostly updates, I believe. We're starting with the acquisition disposition.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
So 4 properties in the Blaine neighborhood just north of Industry. These were the first 4, if I'm not mistaken, that the land bank sold. So this was a deal with Megan and Marcus Benyon of Nagasi Farms. So they ran a garden, a small farm out of these lots since I think 2021. I think they're moving because they need a bigger facility. And this land doesn't provide for that. And they're offering us the ability to acquire those properties back for $10,000, which is, Nate, you said 3 times what we bought them for, 4 times. Now
We
we
sold
don't,
them for, yeah.
yeah, so we don't have a specific, we want to really reach out to you all and ask if you guys have thoughts on this, because we're not really one way or the other on this, because we don't have a specific purpose for them. Our partnerships are in Industry and Whiteley and the Old West End. So we're not sure, especially because vacant lot to individual actors don't really have a really strong, there's not really a strong market there. So we don't have, we wouldn't have a strong game plan, I guess, if we were to acquire these.
Can you give me the address again?
Yes, it's on Windsor. So like 519 South Windsor is one of the addresses, but most of them are 600 block South Windsor. Nate, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just that it is a cluster of properties. They have, I think they've made some improvements to the property. Yeah, that's really all. I mean, I know that Megan is doing some really great work. And she's more. Sorry.
So it's these 6 right here. And so this is Industry, and then those 6 are in the Blaine neighborhood.
All right, they're doing some great work, and they are, even though these properties are not located in Industry, they are a part of our conversation with the work that we're doing in Industry. We have a good relationship with her, and I, basically said I'd like to bring it to the board. If we had gobs of money, it might seems like, let's grab a cluster, 5, 6 properties all together. But before I just made a decision on my own, I thought I'd bring it to the board. I wasn't around when we made that deal. So
Have they done any marketing of the property to just the general public, or they are coming to us first?
my read is that they came to us first and offered us a higher price, and then I think they've shopped it around a little bit and probably had not gotten much positive responses, and so came back to us and said, "What about this?" And I think that yep, that's all.
I mean, I think it's something to kind of put in the back pocket. We don't have a plan for it. They've transformed city lots into an agricultural field, which for their programming was cool, right? But I don't know like what they're doing with that programming going forward if they don't want these lots. I don't know what we would do with those lots. And I don't know. It's an awful lot more money for an improvement I'm unsure how we would use. Something we could consider, and we could keep them in the conversation. I don't know. Yeah, that's my feelings. I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree with Brad. I think I might be slightly more inclined if it was for the price that we sold them for. But yeah, I'd say just hold.
Okay. I'm gonna give a quick inventory update as well under the A&D. So we acquired like those 13 tax deeds that we had bought back in April, those finally transferred into our name. So our inventory deeds is at 68 right now. And we've sold, since inception, 104 to this point. But yeah, that's just a basic inventory update.
Okay, yeah, moving on.
Yeah,
Thanks for
public
that
outreach.
input. Yeah, we had Plan 203 second year students present their findings from their work. We had two groups, Whiteley and Riverside Normal City. That was at Mad Jack's. They really did a great job this semester. We're really building off this first round of data collection for our partnership in Whiteley. It was great for community engagement too, just getting to know the neighborhood. We're going to probably continue with Plan 302 there, the third year studio, and take one, big step in to trying to work with the neighborhood and come up with a community-driven redevelopment plan. We also, thanks again to Heather. She was kind of one of the main constituents for all our work with Riverside Normal City, even though it's not a neighborhood that we're active in and will probably be anytime soon. They did a great job of collecting some data that I think is relevant to the neighborhood and other people that care about Riverside Normal City.
Nate, we would love to have, I know the students are gone, but even if you wanted to present some highlights of the data collection to the neighborhood at a future meeting, I think that the residents would be really interested in that.
I would love to.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Zach and I presented yesterday at the Prosperity Indiana Summit. Annette was there. We had a thin crowd, but I felt like the presentation was well received. We were presenting basically the first time our study that we've done on the tax sale with RWJ funding. So it was a great trial run, and Prosperity Indiana also, invited us to tap into some of their other spaces and present that information, thinking more of an advocacy at the state level, could be a tool for advocacy. So that's a report that we're going to continue to work on. We're happy to share that at any point in time, but we want to do some work before we make it public. But it's really good information. I mean, it just kind of tells a little bit the story of the tax sale over the last 10 years in Muncie, who's benefiting, who's not, where it's effective, where it's not. And so that's going to actually be the topic of our next First Friday meeting. So we're gonna try to do a little promotion like we did for Colby's presentation that was so well attended. Try to get some new people in the room. So please be mindful of that. We'll put that up on Facebook and you can share that. And it really is a deep dive into the tax sale that I don't think has been done in many places. So I think it is like new information, and it's helping us understand, and sharpen up our own discourse as we try to figure out how the land bank can have a more active role in filling in the gaps where the tax sale is not necessarily effective.
I think it was a really well received presentation. I mean, there's lots of good discussion. Like we heard from someone in Marion who's expressing that it's very similar up there with how the tax sale process works and how the bidders participate and how they earn interest, or who's earning interest, I should say. But I think like one of the most stark statistics that we had is that 8.6% of parcels in Muncie have been to the tax sale in the last 10 years, which is just a really large percentage of properties in Muncie that have had bouts of 18 months of delinquency at least. So of course there's lots of effects and correlations and causations between those things possibly. So that's just something that we'd like to, share and inform as many people as possible about what goes on with that process.
I just wanted to say that Nate and Zach did a really good job yesterday. Represented us very well. And it was a thin crowd, but it was after lunch and they put them on the total other side of the hotel. I couldn't even find the room. Um, so I think that had a little bit to do with it, unfortunately. But sometimes it's not the number, it's not the quantity, but it's who you have in the room.
Yeah.
And Erica Petty Saunders from Federal Home Loan Bank was there. And she happens to be from Muncie. And so it was really great for her to hear that information and for them to make that connection with the potential funder. And then I don't know if you guys knew the one lady in the back that would have been to your far right that asked a lot of questions and talked quite a bit was Amy Nelson, who is the director of the Fair Housing Center for Central Indiana. And I could tell that Amy was really picking up on some of they've been looking into what's happening in tax sales, it seems like, and how it disproportionately affects some property owners. And so I thought that was really good for you to present that information in front of Amy and some of the questions that she had and everything. So I thought you guys did a really good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Yeah.
Good job,
Thank you
guys.
very much. Yeah. Also, yeah, and we had Colby Gray last Friday. It was maybe the biggest meeting we've had. Probably close to 70 people made it. And that's largely because people promoted it. People got to hear him at IDEA conference and everybody thought it was great. And so it was cool because we had, a lot of times when we have big numbers, it's because we have 20 students there, but this was all, local people, that were in different kind of sectors, a lot of new faces. So hopefully we can build on that momentum. And I think, doing a little bit more promotion and it may be our board being a little bit more active in promoting that too in spaces. I think that was really effective. But his presentation was great. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. We weren't able to make it. Real quick on our partnerships. We're always in conversation. There's always things happening. There's lots of meetings, but the biggest thing is that, in industry, one of the things that came through very clearly in our kind of conversation with the neighborhood last year, all the surveying and interviews and focus groups, was that there's a lot of young business people, entrepreneurs that are in the neighborhood and doing a lot of great things. There's a lot of energy there. And so it's not necessarily our space. It's not necessarily housing. It could be connected, their property and buildings are part of business too. But so we kind of convened a meeting with a group of business owners. We and the Innovation Connector hosted that meeting. Lorraine Tomlin from Prime Trust came, and then we also brought Ashley Bridges from Intend Indiana's Build Fund to have a meeting. It was contentious at times. It was kind of all over the place. Ted and Lorraine were very gracious and allowed us to kind of just let the conversation go. But we're trying to figure out what are next steps. And so there's another kind of like smaller group that's starting to talk locally, people from the neighborhood with kind of our steering committee of organizations about, okay, what would it look like to really support business in industry neighborhood. We also introduced Ashley Bridges from Intend to Whiteley leadership there, the group we've been working with. That was a great little meeting. And I think that's a connection that we might draw on in the future as plans start to come a little bit clearer. And then in the Old West End, Zach gave a little update on our property and when the timeline for when that might be transferred to Intend. The goal is still to basically do the rehabs this year. There are 4 rehabs, and then start into the infill next year. But we have a meet and greet with contractors on the schedule for May 28th. And that's something that's been on and off and on and off and now on again. So that's an important first step. And Zach and I, we got some FaceTime with Intend staff yesterday at the Prosperity Indiana Summit, and I think there's going to be a lot more collaboration in the very near future between Intend staff and our Old West End Development Alliance, that we call it. So I'm encouraged that that's going to it's going to accelerate that whole process. Lastly, yeah, we have 2 interns that are kind of finishing up their work in the 812 coalition. We've been supporting the coalition by creating kind of a redevelopment plan for the corridors, Walnut Street, Hoyt Street, Memorial, 8th Street, Madison. And so they're tying up that process. So we'll have something, a report that we can pass off the 812 coalition, and then we'll support as a member of that coalition.
Is there a deadline for that report?
It's roughly now, because they're moving on to other things. I've met with them. Heather's met with them. Heather and I are going to meet next week and talk through the plan. So I would say it's probably going to be another month or so. Till we have something that we will be presenting to the public.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
I think that leads us to privilege of the floor, though, unless there's any other questions for the staff or the board, or any issues the board should consider that we haven't today. Anyone?
I just want to share real quick that Pastone is having our annual partnership luncheon on June 4th from 11:30 to 1 at Ivy Tech Fisher Building. And Amajula Anderson, who is first VP of Bank of Indianapolis in their nonprofit management, will be our keynote speaker. So if you have not gotten an invite, let me know. I guess I can send it to Nate. Maybe he can share it. But we would love to have you guys join us.
Fantastic.
Ned, I have that invite, so I'm happy to send it out to the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else for the privilege of the floor? Hearing none, our next board meeting is June 19th at 9 a.m. right here on the interwebs. I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Got a motion from Gene, I believe, a second from Dustin. Are there any objections to adjournment? We are adjourned.